Hello, welcome back to the Breaking News Update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a ton of big news to brief you all on today. So we're going to start this video off talking about huge explosions and fires breaking out all over Russia, and a very big report to start the video off right here on your screen. Russia's 51st GRU Arsenal suffers massive explosion in Vladimir region. The facility stored approximately 105,000 tons of missiles, artillery shells, MLRS munitions, surface-to-air missile components, tactical missiles, across 45 storage bunkers and 30 open-air sites. So we're going to start off talking about this story first, and don't know exactly how this happened, but a massive explosion here in the Vladimir region. This is just a little bit northeast of Moscow, just in the first region, right over the border from the Moscow region. Okay, I'll show you guys on a map here in just a minute where this GRU Arsenal is located at. But this is the first arsenal we've seen in a while that has actually exploded. I'm not sure if it was due to a strike from Ukraine or if we had some sort of explosion on the site. But nonetheless, a massive explosion you can see here in the photo, and I've got lots of videos coming out from that area. I'm sure lots of munitions were destroyed just today inside of Russia. So we'll go over that report here in just a minute. And also we had reports inside the Kursk region that over the last 24 hours, we had some sort of hangars that were being attacked, and apparently an S-400 Triumph air defense missile system was located in the town of Sorokin in the Kursk region. Reportedly, that entire facility was attacked. We had lots of damage to vehicles and a radar station over there. So reportedly a major attack in the Kursk region. Also just fires breaking out all over Russia. We had in the Volgograd region a hydroelectric power station that caught on fire over there. Warehouse burning to the ground in St. Petersburg. So lots of damage happening inside of Russia today to report on. Also inside of Ukraine, I mean, just major attacks taking place everywhere. We've got glide bombs being dropped all over Ukraine, multiple different cities and regions from the Russians. We had guided aerial bombs being dropped, destroying homes down in Zaparitzia. Drone attacks like crazy onto Odessa last night. I mean, just lots of damage inside of Ukraine as well that we're going to go over. Numerous other reports we'll cover as well. Let's go ahead and jump into this, guys. We'll hop on over here to X with War Translated. Powerful explosions rock the 51st GRU Arsenal of the Russian Ministry of Defense in the Vladimir region. 100,000 tons of ammunition went up in the air. Among the destroyed items were glide bombs, artillery shells, rockets for multiple launch rocket systems, and components for air defense systems. It was one of the largest depots in Russia, burning nicely. Okay, so we've got a video here. It's about close to a minute long. It's going to be a compilation of different videos. You're going to see explosions from different angles, several different people in this area recording this for you guys. So go ahead and take a look at this real quick.
Склад с боеприпасами горит. Пизда. Волна какая. Охуеть!
Это что было?
Что-то взорвалось очень сильно. Огненный шар. Так, да, надо куда-то срочно смываться, так что...
Куда?
Да не знаю куда, на дорогу опасно выезжать.
All right, pretty frightening to be located so close to this arsenal. And we just had like 6 months ago, there was actually two major arsenals that were hit by Ukraine. I think this was up in the Ver region. This would be in northeastern Russia that we had reports of arsenals being hit again. So maybe this was Ukraine that did it. We don't really know just yet. There was some reports that could have been some sort of ammunition loading with like artillery, where maybe we had some sort of explosion that caused this whole place to go up in flames. But I've got a map we're going to jump on over to now. Let me show you exactly where this is located at. So zooming out real quick, this is Ukraine right here. Here's Russian territory. We have the Moscow region just right here, okay? And just over the border to the northeast of Moscow, we have the Vladimir region right here, okay? And on the western side of the Vladimir region, we'll zoom in right over here. to the 51st GRU Arsenal, okay? And it's located right next to the settlement of Barsovo, and there's lots of reports that some of the settlements nearby, I know for sure Barsovo was evacuated, not sure if these other ones nearby here were also evacuated, but if you can see, it's located right next to all these smaller settlements, even some larger towns over here. So imagine living right next to this. I mean, look at the amount of ammunition that would have been stored here. There's lots of bunkers located here. So again, we don't know exactly what caused this fire and this explosion here. Was this the Russians making some sort of mistake, or was this Ukraine taking aim with maybe one of their missiles that they've been working on? Okay, we know that Ukraine's got like Palinitsia drones. They've got Trembita missiles. They've got the Peklo drone. Lots of different weaponry that could definitely reach this place if they really wanted to, or was this a ballistic missile being used? We have no idea right now. Still waiting for further confirmation. So that's where it's located at, just on the western side of the Vladimir region and just northeast of Moscow, very close to Moscow actually, okay? So crazy news, guys. Got more videos here for you from Max24. The 51st Arsenal stores and stored artillery shells, ATGM missiles, SAMs for S-300V SAM systems, SAMs for OSA SAM, missiles for MLRS, and FABs, which are glide bombs. Arsenal capacity is 264,000 tons. I mean, that's a lot of weaponry going up in smoke here, guys. 8 seconds on this video. Take a look. All right, so this video here that you're seeing is actually one of the first videos that were coming out on X showing the initial explosion when this thing blew up. So again, we don't really know what happened here, but I'm curious to see what the actual outcome is. Was this Ukraine carrying out a strike, or was it some sort of accident here at the facility? Either way, a lot of weapons being destroyed. Now from Savchenko, Vladimir, secondary detonation at 51st GRU Arsenal. Okay, so this video 8 seconds long also. Pay attention very closely, listen up. You're going to hear lots of secondary explosions going off from all the ammunition detonating. Take a look. Pretty scary. I mean, listen to that. Lots of huge explosions there in the background. We can see all this smoke coming from this facility. And there was also some reports as well. I think it was Noel Reports on X who was reporting that some people were actually seeing missiles flying all over the place, okay? So that was a lot of these, probably these SAM missiles, the S-300 missiles that are being stored there that were probably detonating and flying all over the place. We know a lot of tactical missiles were stored here as well. So a pretty frightening situation over here for the Russians in the Vladimir region. Now from the Ukrainian Review, according to 112, the villages of Mirny and Barsovo, where the 51st Arsenal of the GRAU is located, are being evacuated. Okay, so a couple more photos to show you guys well. Look at that huge mushroom cloud coming from that facility after the initial blast. We've got more smoke and another cloud coming from here. This place is going to be done. I mean, by the time this thing is done burning out, it'll probably be completely destroyed, just like some of the other ones that were hit late last year. So here's kind of the how close this facility is to some of these settlements. So there's Barsovo right there. So it looks like this settlement as well was also being evacuated nearby. Here's just some pictures coming out from one of those towns nearby showing this explosion over here as well. Looks like this is probably a snapshot from a video. So massive explosion over here inside of Russia, guys. Now we'll move on to an update from Max24. UAV's attack on S-400 says dossier Spiona, if I'm saying that right. On April 11th, 2025, an attack was carried out on hangars where the S-400 Triumph air defense missile system was located in Sorokin, Kursk region. The following were damaged as a result of the strike. R-149 AKSH-1 Command and Staff Vehicle, 96L6-1V radar station, 25 P85 SM2-01 launchers, and 6 48 N6DM anti-aircraft guided missiles. The complex was evacuated to assess the damage. Okay, so lots of equipment being destroyed over here for S-400 air defense systems. Here's a picture of an S-400 system here as well. We've heard of Ukraine striking these a lot in the past, just using simple FPV drones. Looks like aerial attack drones were used to strike an S-400 hangar that potentially had an S-400 system inside of it. Okay, so major hit inside the Kursk region, lots of damage there. Now for Max 24, explosions in Feodosia, according to Crimean channels, waiting for info. Okay, so not really sure what happened here, but Feodosia, that's down in eastern Crimea, okay, close to the Kerch Bridge. Now, explosions taking place over there. Was this Ukraine launching drone attacks over there? I think maybe it could be. There used to be a major oil depot that was being used for the Russian military over there that was struck several months back. Maybe Ukraine was going after it again, because as far as I know, it may not be out of complete operation. They might still be using it down there, so maybe Ukraine was going after that again. But otherwise, I believe that's also a port city that's used to bring a lot of equipment in to Crimea that comes from the Russian mainland, okay? So we'll wait for more information on that. I'll let you guys know later if I get an update. Now from Raging 545, video of large fire at the Volga hydroelectric power station in Volgograd, Russia. No further details were given for the fire. This is reportedly the largest hydroelectric power station in Europe, geolocated at, and there's the coordinates for you guys if you want to go ahead and look that up. You can screenshot that and take a look at that online. But let's go ahead and jump into this video here. Hydroelectric power station, in Volgograd, Russia on fire. Take a look.
Привет, да, может быть. Можем. Да, договорились. Ага.
Okay, so now this hydroelectric power station was reportedly on fire yesterday inside of Russia. I was not able to include this in our video yesterday because it came out after I released our update. But yeah, not sure how this happened. Was this some sort of strike from Ukraine also? I think maybe it could be possible. I mean, just so many fires breaking out and hits all over Russia. And many of these videos, if you see, are coming out during the day. So it looks like Ukraine is carrying out a lot of operations on hits inside Russia, even during the day as well. This is kind of a map showing where this hydroelectric power station was located at in the city of Volgograd, okay? This is in southwestern Russia. So if we get more info on that, I'll let you guys know as well. Also, take a look at this from Slava, St. Petersburg. There, the warehouse suddenly burst into flames. Okay, so we've got this video of a warehouse catching on fire in St. Petersburg. I mean, this is almost a daily occurrence inside of Russia, it seems like. There's always some sort of warehouse or hospital, something catching on fire. And is this the act of Ukraine and saboteurs? Maybe it could be, or maybe it's some sort of accident. We don't really know at this time. Again, not a whole lot of information coming out on all these fires and strikes, or reported that maybe could be strikes. Just like what we saw at the 51st GRU Arsenal today. Maybe it was Ukraine carrying out that strike, maybe not, but we'll wait for further confirmation on all these. But yet again, fires inside of Russia. Now let's jump on over to figuring out what happened inside of Ukraine last night. Here's from Jurgen Nodit. Kharkiv is burning. Europe is watching. 12 Russian drones attacks on 4 districts in Kharkiv. Fires are breaking out in some places. There are already injuries, okay? So we had multiple strikes. You can see all the smoke here in the city of Kharkiv, northeastern Ukraine. Take a look at this. All right, so Kharkiv being heavily attacked once again. And this is almost a daily occurrence that we report drone strikes onto Kharkiv. I think there was about 54 drones going into Ukraine last night. Kharkiv being one of the most hit or hard hit cities. We've got other reports as well from Kiev Post. Right now, Kharkiv is under massive attack by deadly Russian drones. Rescue workers are rushing to the scene. Okay, just a quick 4-second clip here that the Kiev Post put out for you guys. Take a look at this as well. Right, so we had a massive explosion over here inside of Kharkiv. Somebody hanging out their window recording these drones coming in, and an explosion not too far away frightened them, and you can see they shook their camera. So just explosions happening all over Kharkiv over the last 24 hours. You can see again happening during the day. Here's a report from Max 24. 4 children were injured due to the strike on Zaparitzia, according to the OVA. Boys aged 16, 14, 4, and 3 are currently in the hospital. Doctors assess their condition as moderate. Okay, so from what I understand, this was a high-rise building or an apartment building directly hit by a Russian guided aerial bomb. Some sort of bomb was dropped here, destroying part of this building. And allegedly, we had 4 children being injured. I think we did have some reports there could have been some people killed in these attacks as well, but so far we are hearing that 4 children were being injured in these attacks. Here's a video also coming out from Bliskovka. Consequences of the enemy attack on Ukrainian city of Zaparitzia, regional military administration reports. Here's a 10-second clip also showing damage to this building in Zaparitzia from this guided aerial bomb. Take a look. All right, so this is exactly what Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was calling on Russia to do, was to seize attacks onto civilian infrastructure. I mean, Russia just doesn't care at this point. They're just smashing everything and trying to terrorize the civilians inside of Ukraine. We've been seeing this on a repeated basis from the Russian side. They don't care really what they target. They're just lobbing whatever they can into Ukraine. We've been seeing this consistently for weeks now, and for sure even months. So lots of damage here in Zaporizhzhia. As you can see, cars being destroyed as well, and that high-rise building being hit by a bomb. Now for Max 24, Odessa, and he's got a little praying symbol. So 11 seconds here. These were massive drone attacks inside Odessa. Again, guys, take a look. All right, so very horrible footage to see here. I know it's really kind of hard to see what you're looking at, but we can see lots of fire from these explosions, from these drones incoming to Odessa. This is a major city in southwestern Ukraine, close to Crimea, and they get attacked almost every single night from drones. I've been sharing that with you guys for a while. So major hits inside Odessa last night. Here's a video coming out from the Ukrainian Review. A major fire broke out in Odessa at the site of one of the strikes. So here's a video. This video doesn't even have any sound, so I went ahead and just muted it, but we can see a major fire that broke out over here also inside of Odessa. And a lot of times whenever we have videos coming out from Odessa, they're usually very blurry or purposely blurred out to protect a lot of these sites, these areas that get hit, because what happens is when these videos come out, the Russians will adjust their strikes and try to hit their targets in case they missed. And I actually have an update on that. Looks like another person trying to sabotage operations inside of Ukraine was arrested again today to help the Russians adjust their strikes. Now from Bliskovka, Russians hit a hospital in Ukrainian city of Kherson with a drone. 6 people were wounded. According to the regional military administration, employees of the medical facility and the funeral service were injured. They suffered mine blast injuries and shrapnel wounds. Okay, so very horrible, guys. Another 6 people being injured in Kherson. This is also in southwestern Ukraine, very close to where the Russians are at. Okay, so anybody living in Kherson is just repeatedly being attacked every single day from drones and artillery. So 6 more people being wounded. Now for Max 24, the enemy attacked Kupiansk with FABs, so those are glide bombs. 4 people injured. State Emergency Service reported 3 fires broke out, household buildings were burning, 14 private homes and several outbuildings were destroyed. So very sad here, guys, once again to have to report to you some major damage in the city of Kupiansk. This is up in the Kharkiv region, northeastern Ukraine. Kupiansk's been getting hit very hard as well recently, and the Russians are trying to actually push into the city and take it over. That's why they're getting bombed so heavily all the time. So look at all that damage here from all these Russian glide bombs just shelling the area here, completely destroying homes. And we had 4 people being injured there, unfortunately, as well. So now let's move on to some miscellaneous updates coming out from this war from Polymarket Intel. Breaking, according to the Kyiv Independent, Japan will share satellite intelligence with Ukraine for the first time. Japanese company IQPS will provide synthetic aperture radar or SAR imagery to Ukraine's military intelligence HUR. Full integration is expected in 2 to 3 months. Japan joins Finland, Germany, and Italy in supplying advanced satellite data. Okay, so very big news on Japan. We've been hearing so much coming out from Japan lately. They've been really reporting a lot that they're starting to get more involved with Ukraine and helping them out. So very big news. Now they're going to be sharing satellite technology with the Ukrainians. This information actually came out yesterday, but still being widely reported today. Just wanted to share that with you guys as I was not able to share that information yesterday, okay? Now for military news UA, Russian troops have begun using Chinese-made Type 56-1 assault rifles. One of these was captured by the Ukrainian military. Yeah, allegedly, this report was starting to be shared yesterday also that one of these guns here that were found, the Type 56-1 Chinese-made AK, was allegedly like brand new. That apparently some of the Russians were able to get these. I'm not sure if they're buying them themselves. Some people were stating that some of the Russians, if they want better equipment, they have to buy the guns personally. So maybe that's what was being done here. Maybe they purchased this from the Chinese. But looks like the Ukrainians are starting to find Chinese-made AKs on the battlefield. So pretty crazy news. We've been hearing a lot about China recently being involved. Now from NOAA reports, a plane with call sign Welcome is again circling in western Ukraine. Yesterday, there were rumors it could have been a Swedish-supplied Saab 340 AEWNC equipped with the Iri I, if I'm saying that right, or Iri AESA radar. It can spot targets up to 400 kilometers away. With Link 16 integration, it can relay target data straight to F-16s. So this was being reported yesterday. I showed this to you guys, a report that there was some sort of plane over the skies of Lviv when there shouldn't be, as basically there's a no-fly zone, at least for civilian aircraft inside of Ukraine. And many people were saying that it looked like a civilian aircraft. So could it have possibly been a Swedish AWACS plane, an intelligence plane? I think maybe it could have been. But I do have some reports as well as, again, today, this plane is again being spotted over Lviv. And look how they're doing kind of like circles. So I'm not sure if this is some sort of intelligence plane. Maybe it is. But I have another report here. We'll go ahead and let this play from Max 24. The moment of flight of an AN26 KPA from 456 Transport Aviation Brigade over the Lviv region. This is probably the same aircraft that was confused with the Swedish Saab 340 AEWNC yesterday, okay, that intelligence plane. So the AN26 KPA, when I checked this out online, it's actually a transport plane that the Ukrainian military could be using. So is that what this is? I mean, I don't see why they'd be doing loops over here, or maybe it's been configured to be the intelligence plane. I don't really know what's going on, but you guys can let me know what you think. You think that's an intelligence plane or a transport plane? Maybe that's Ukraine moving some equipment around, or who really knows here. But we definitely have some planes being spotted in the skies over Lviv in western Ukraine recently. Now for Max 24, Russia wants Ukraine to lift the ban on talks with Putin to discuss Zelensky's proposal to stop strikes on civilian targets, says Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman. Peskov also said that this initiative must first be discussed, taking into account the experience of the Easter truce. Russia wants to understand Ukraine's readiness not to carry out corresponding strikes, but in order to discuss such an initiative, steps must be taken to clear the legal obstacles to such contracts. So Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov calling on Ukraine to lift the ban that Ukraine has on speaking with Vladimir Putin, because they've come out and said that they would not negotiate with Putin, basically calling him a terrorist. They've banned any top officials from Ukraine to be able to negotiate directly with Putin. So the Kremlin's coming out saying, go ahead and lift that ban. We'll start talking about these strikes on civilian targets, and maybe we can seize them. Who knows if that's really going to happen, and if Ukraine would actually do that. I'm thinking Ukraine will most likely not lift that ban, but we are hearing a lot of talks about this war potentially coming to an end, and maybe Ukraine and Russia might come to an agreement. I'm thinking highly likely not, but we could see what happens here over the next few days. But yeah, let's see if Ukraine happens to lift that ban, if they're open to discussing with Vladimir Putin to end civilian strikes. Now, from next, Trump avoids answering whether Ukraine should recognize Crimea as part of Russia in a peace deal. He stated that he would make an official announcement within 3 days. Well, I'll provide you with full information over the next 3 days, but we had very good meetings with Ukraine and Russia. Let's see how it goes. The next step, we need a little more time. We've had very good meetings, Trump said. The Office of the President of Ukraine has already stated that the issue of recognizing Crimea as Russian was not discussed at the meeting in Paris. Okay, so that's interesting, because we heard so much recently over the last few days that the Trump administration was going to recognize Crimea as Russian as part of a peace deal. So it looks like that could possibly be up in the air. We'll have to see what happens here. Maybe the U.S. is not going to do that. Maybe they might actually lift that decision in order to get an end to this war, and maybe they won't recognize Crimea. But we know Ukraine wants all of their territory back at some point. If they can't get it back diplomatically, could this war break out again later down the road and Ukraine tries to get all their territory back militarily? I mean, maybe. But so many questions up in the air right now regarding this peace deal. We're still waiting for official confirmation, and we could possibly get that as soon as tomorrow on the 23rd. We're hearing from Zelensky yesterday that Ukraine is supposed to be meeting with high delegation from the U.S., and possibly also Russia, maybe on Wednesday. We might get some sort of decision or hear more information on that. Now, from the Ukrainian Review, one senior administration official told New York Post Trump peace plan may include deploying European forces to Ukraine should an end to the war and ceasefire be reached. Also on the table is as a separate peacekeeping force to monitor any ceasefire, which would look like a joint commission of Russians, Ukrainians, and a third non-NATO country watching the front lines to ensure both sides are putting their weapons down. The U.S. may be involved as well, but not as boots on the ground, but the monetary force, along with a third party, the official said. The proposal may also include the U.S.'s recognition of Ukraine's Crimea as Russian territory. Okay, so yeah, just again, so many questions here, guys. What's really going to happen here? Is a peacekeeping contingent going to be deployed into Ukraine after we get a ceasefire? We don't really know yet. I think it could be likely based on some of the information coming out regarding this peace deal. It looks like the U.S. might leave that door open to allow Ukraine to receive some sort of European peace contingent or maybe a non-NATO country to come in and help monitor this ceasefire. So again, so many questions here, guys. We'll have to see what happens with that. Now from next day, Ukraine is ready to de facto cede 20% of its territory to Putin, according to sources from the New York Post. At least that's what the sources claim. De facto means we will acknowledge that the Russians occupy this land, but Ukraine does not intend to give it up forever. De jure means we accept that Russia takes this land, we will never see it again. Ukraine's defense minister told the American side that Kiev is 90% ready to accept the proposed terms, according to the publication's sources. Trump has promised to present the details of his peace plan in the next 3 days. What do you think will happen to the occupied territories? Yeah, so big questions on all these occupied territories. Ukraine going to give up Crimea? Are they not going to give up Crimea? Are they going to recognize, allow the U.S. to recognize Crimea as Russian territory? I guess we'll have to really wait and see how this plays out. But then in terms of all these other territories, I mean, Ukraine's come out so many times saying that they would never allow Russia to, completely hold these territories. They would never recognize them as Russian. So again, guys, just very interesting information coming out today. We'll have to see how this goes. Now from Max 24, the enemy offensive in the Kharkiv region is already underway. The armed forces of Ukraine are stopping all attempts by the enemy to break through, the head of the Kharkiv OVA reports. Okay, so apparently massive attacks of the Russians occurring right now in the Kharkiv region. This is right next to the Belgorod region where Ukraine is reportedly operating in. And also right next door, we have the Sumy region in Ukraine and then the Kursk region of Russia. That whole area is just being contested by Russia and Ukraine on both sides. So we're hearing reports of an attack in the Kharkiv region right now from the Russians. Now for Max 24, Russia is preparing a breakthrough in the Nepro Petrovsk region by May 9th to declare the end of the special military operation and the beginning of anti-terrorist operation on the territory of Ukraine. Ukrainian military reports. Russian commanders are also talking about such plans among themselves. This information is also confirmed by prisoners. Okay, so right here we have the city of Petrovsk, okay, that major transport rail hub city we've been talking about. This is where the Russians have been trying to circle around, and they've been halted, okay, and we've been hearing they're retreating in this area as well. This is in the Donetsk region. Well, allegedly they're trying to break through and push over to the Nepro Petrovsk region, which would be over here. Here's the city of Dnipro right there. If they were able to do that and break through the Donetsk region into the Nepro Petrovsk region, they could possibly say at one point that maybe they've got control over the Donetsk region, which obviously they don't have full control over it just yet. But maybe that could be their goal here, as we've been seeing them really starting to creep out past Pokrovsk, and the Ukrainians are really trying to hold them back here right now. So looks like some major attacks still ongoing over here near Pokrovsk. Now for next tribunal for Putin, investigation to begin in The Hague against 20 high-ranking Russian officials. Special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine is already prepared and awaits political approval. This tribunal, unofficially referred to as the Tribunal for Putin, will operate in The Hague, and its creation is being discussed based on the Council of Europe. However, the details of the tribunal's documents are being kept secret. It is known that Vladimir Putin will not be prosecuted while he remains the president of Russia. Same applies to Mikhail Mishustin and Sergei Lavrov, whose immunity will prevent them from being tried in this process. However, investigations into the highest Russian leadership and possibly Belarus will take place. Immunity will not be an obstacle. Okay, so tribunals already starting to be set up for Russian war crimes inside of Ukraine, and it looks like some top officials could be prosecuted after this war comes to an end. We'll have to see how this goes, but this tribunal is dedicated to Vladimir Putin, as he's the one who initiated this attack onto Ukraine, and all these attacks are obviously the result of him and all these civilians being killed inside of Ukraine, just repeated attacks on civilians, war crimes being committed all over Ukraine. So it looks like we could be hearing more about tribunals for the Russian military here very soon and high-ranking officials. Now, from NOAA reports, Russia's reportedly deployed 6 missile carriers to the Black Sea, total volley up to 46 calibers. Monitoring groups say, stay vigilant, air raid alerts may follow. All right, so we're hearing that Russia is now deploying some of their missile carriers, their navies showing up back again in the Black Sea close to Crimea. Now, I'm not sure exactly why that is the case, but this was being announced yesterday, and we do have a new report here today from NOAA Reports. Russia might be bracing for something big in Crimea, says Ukrainian Navy Spokes Dmitro Pletenchuk. Warships are dispersing near Novorossiysk, and air defense units are being relocated in occupied Crimea, possibly in anticipation of a threat from Ukraine in the Black Sea. So this was a report here. This news channel doesn't have any subtitles, so I'm not going to show you guys the video. But yeah, something apparently is going to go down in Crimea. We don't really know what's going on yet. Is Ukraine going to try to launch a massive attack on a Crimea soon? Either like a ground offensive. I don't really know what's happening here, but maybe we could see some sort of major attack. And it looks like the Russians are preparing for it and deploying their missile carriers and warships in that area. Now for Liskovka, Ukraine's security service detained another Russian informant who was adjusting strikes on Mykolaiv. The offender was a 50-year-old local resident. He collected information about the location of the Ukrainian military and transmitted it via messenger to his curator working for the FSB. During the search, the informant's phone was with evidence of espionage and ammunition were found. He faces up to 12 years in prison. So yet again, another secret Russian agent over here, basically, being detained, or an informant for Russia's military that was probably setting up some sort of cameras to try to help the Russians adjust their strikes on the Ukrainian military. We heard this yesterday. There was a woman just being caught doing this. Now we've got what appears to be a younger man, or excuse me, a 50-year-old man who was being caught over here also in Ukraine trying to adjust strikes for Russia's military. Now for Max 24, in the Kharkiv region near Kupiansk, soldiers of the 2nd Operational Battalion captured an enemy infantry group attempting to gain a foothold in their area of responsibility. All right, so near Kupiansk, also in the Kharkiv region, we have reports of Russian soldiers being captured once again. Just yesterday, we had a report of 9 Russian soldiers being captured in the Kursk region, now over here in the Kharkiv region as well. So this really shows that the Russians are attacking a lot in that area. If we're hearing a lot of Russian soldiers being captured, that's how we know they're launching a lot of offensives as well. Now for more translated, Anatoly Kropshinsky, if I'm saying that right, deputy director of an electronic warfare production company, stated that Russia's modernizing its X-59, X-101, and X-55 555 missiles, Significant changes have been made to the X-101 and X-555 cruise missiles, allowing them to avoid any external interference. Russia's also modified the X-59 missile into the X-69 by increasing its range, Kropshinsky explained. Okay, so apparently Russia's upgrading a lot of their missiles, which is not good news for Ukraine. Maybe Ukraine had some ways to bring these down, maybe even with electronic warfare or some sort of jamming. And that might not be able to work anymore if Russia has upgraded their missiles. But this is just kind of a chart showing the different missiles that Russia has that they consistently fire into Ukraine. And definitely not good news for Ukraine. This means that maybe more of these missiles could be hitting their targets inside of Ukrainian territory. Now for military news UA, 90% of produced barrels for the French 155mm Caesar self-propelled howitzer are supplied to Ukraine. Crazy amount, guys. 90% of barrels that France is producing right now for the 155mm Caesar self-propelled howitzers, these are artillery guns, are now being supplied for Ukraine. I mean, that's majority of them. Isn't that insane to think about that? Basically, everything that the French are producing goes right into Ukraine. So these are a picture of some of those barrels there. Pretty insane news. All right, guys, a couple more updates here before we get you out of here. From Max 24, Ukrainian air defense shot down 38 out of 54 Shahed UAVs, 16 drones suppressed by electronic warfare, 20 Shaheeds in Ukrainian airspace now. Okay, so here's the daily updates and diagram showing the amount of drones being shot down. Looks like majority 38 shot down. Probably about 20 or so might have made it through, as we did have some direct hits inside of Odessa and several other regions like Kharkiv over the last 24 hours. So good majority brought down also by electronic warfare. Now, our final update of the day from the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of April 22nd, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. All right, guys, last update here. Russia's losses as of April 22nd, 1,130 troops, 19 AFVs, 134 vehicles and fuel tanks, 4 tanks, 26 artillery systems, 118 UAVs, and 1 anti-aircraft warfare system. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm not seeing major numbers here on destruction of Russia's military vehicles and their equipment. But yeah, just real quick, 1,130 troops, so right about average. Usually we see about 1,200 troops being destroyed, 19 AFVs, not too many. Vehicles and fuel tanks, right about average, 130, 150 is usually what we see. Only 4 tanks over the last 24 hours, 26 artillery systems. So yeah, not too much being destroyed compared to what we saw just a few days ago. So it looks like this war is slowly starting to ramp up, and what we're seeing mostly was just aerial attacks, if anything, over the last 24 hours, more than probably Russian assaults. But there was a report yesterday as well that the Russians were launching another assault onto Zaparitzia. I think there was about 300 men that were launching an assault to Zaparitzia, and apparently were completely destroyed. There was some video coming out talking about that on X today. So for the most part, a lot of these Russian attacks appear to be halted in many areas from what we have been seeing, and the Russians really aren't gaining too much territory right now. Okay, so I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in for today's update, and please let me know what you think about all these details down in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.